So they are taking good care of us, and not only us, as Sir has explained, to the society at large. So ITS is known for not only imparting education, but they are also being known for the value system that they imbibe in the students and the people who are associated with it. So because I personally feel value and ethics is something which becomes the core of any professional. So that is what we feel proud of sharing about ITS with all the guests that.
Yachna ma'am, director ma'am have also joined.
Right. Thank you, sir. Director ma'am, a very good morning. Can you hear me?
Very good morning, Yashna.
All right, ma'am. Ma'am,
Yeah.
am I audible?
Is yeah. Is my voice audible?
Yes, ma'am. Your voice is audible, right?
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Ma'am, Kalpana,
Okay.
Dr.
Yes,
Kalpana is
continue.
already
Yeah.
Dr. Kalpana is already
Yeah.
there with us, and ma'am has joined us actually 10:45 itself. So,
Okay. Namaskar.
right. Uh,
So welcome Kalpana ji to this forum, and I think Yashna ji has already started. I just wanted to welcome you on this virtual forum, and really it's our pleasure to listen to you today. And thanks for accepting our request. Now, before we proceed, I just would like to, tell a few things about the group because being host, it's my duty to tell you, what ITS is all about. So, ITS group of institutions, you might be aware about it, that we are having 3 institutions with 800 faculties and 8,000 students. We are into management educations, into information technology, we are into engineering, we are into biosciences, and our college we are having at Muradnagar it is one of the best in a country. And you will be happy to know that in recent
Director ma'am,
Director ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Director ma'am, you're requested to unmute.
yeah. Now is it okay? Thank you. Okay. So as a part of this CSR activity, we as ITS, we normally contribute a lot many things to the societal cause. Okay. And in this league, our charitable trust is actually providing the education to girl children, and which is 100% we do not charge anything from them. So this is one support what we would like to give, whether a girl child education is very important for the country. Coming to another things, recently COVID-19, it is almost 87 day today. We are witnessing this unprecedented crisis. And I think if you recall past since 1991, then some unprecedented crisis happened. Even 2008 subprime crisis also has never given a jolt to the economy. I think this is really a challenge for not only the country, but the entire world. So we thought of that as ITS or as an institution and as members of our ITS family, we have continuously doing and contributing to the society. In spite of the lockdown, we are continuously reaching to our students through online classes, online workshops. Even our students have got virtual placements, and almost all the students are doing the virtual internships right now. And most of the students are on the verge of joining. So this COVID-19 has given us a great opportunity, and this technology has served a lot. And our faculty members, in spite of any day, they are continuously working 24/7 to help the students. And coming to the society services, like Yashna already has told you, that we have done a lot many things, being taken care of the society. So we joined the hands with the district administration. And our Muradnagar Surya Hospital, we have given them as a COVID hospital, as an isolation center. And we have equally distributed to ration distribution to the needy and poor, feed the hungry program. And we already distributed the sanitization was a big problem. So we distributed lot many things to the poor people. Now this Mazdoor problem, we have seen that people were actually very panicky and they were going to their villages and their hometowns. We tried to help them also. So we tried to provide whatever maximum support as an institution we can do. Because I think as a educational institution, we are very sensitive towards societal issues. And I think you being in the public administration and the government service, I think you understand all these sensitive issues. So once again, I welcome you on this forum, and we would love to listen from you, your thoughts and your message to the students and faculty, that how this new normal is going to change our life and how we are going to transform ourselves. Already we are changed, but we would love to listen to your thoughts. So thank you for accepting our request, and once again we welcome you.
Thank you so much. Very kind.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Dr. Kalpana, I will just take 1 minute to introduce you to our participants, right?
Your voice is echoing. There's an echo. There's an echo.
Is it okay now?
Now it's fine.
Okay, right. Thank you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, a very pleasant good morning and namaskar once again. I, Professor Yachna Malhotra, on behalf of ITS, once again welcome you all to today's very interesting and knowledge-sharing webinar series in our endeavor to keep you abreast with all the upcoming things in the world. This session has been organized with none other than Dr. Kalpana Gopalan, an IS and currently the Additional Chief Secretary, Youth Empowerment and Sports. The theme of today's session is grabbing the brass ring, how to survive and thrive in the post-COVID, the new normal. The topic itself is very interesting. And when you have a person like Dr. Kalpana Gopalan, who is an IS and a doctorate and master's in public policy from IIM Bangalore. Ma'am is an eminent policy maker, scholar, author, and volunteer. She is a gold medalist in her undergraduate and postgraduate courses. Ma'am is recipient of Mother Teresa Women Empowerment and the International Human Rights Award 2019. Dr. Kalpana Gopalan is also awarded with NLM UNESCO Award and Karnataka Ratna Award. Ma'am is visiting fellow at McGill and Concordia University. She is the chief editor and advisor of 360-degree Management Review. Ma'am is among the expert panel of reviewers in IIM Bangalore Review. And she has 20th rank in Combined Civil Services exam in 1987, which is itself a great achievement at that time. If I keep on reading, it is too much to actually read about. But keeping the eye on watch, I would now not like to come in between to the participants and ma'am. So over to you, ma'am. We are anxiously waiting for you to listen to you. And I'm sure that this Saturday morning is going to be very memorable and enriching for all of us. So over to you, Dr. Kalpana.
Thank you, Dr. Yachna. Thank you for that very kind introduction. And thank you all for being here. It's wonderful to see such an illustrious audience, in fact, on this Saturday morning. So thank you all for being here and inviting me over. I hope someday that I'll be able to visit in person when COVID-19 is behind us. Now, what am I going to speak of today? Grabbing the brass ring, meeting that challenge, how to survive and thrive, not just survive, but thrive in the post-COVID new normal. Most of you will be familiar with Winston Churchill. He was the Prime Minister of Britain at the time of World War II. And Winston Churchill exhorted us never to waste a good crisis. Now, COVID-19 has forced us into a prolonged timeout. It has brought radical lifestyle changes. As we move into a calibrated opening up, it is time for us to begin contemplating the end of that crisis and envision what the world will look like in the aftermath. How the pandemic will change the way we live and we work, and what we need to do to adjust to the new normal of the post-COVID-19 world. Today I will present 3 arguments before you. First, I argue that the new normal of the post-COVID-19 world will see major changes in our professional world. We have been discussing the last 10 minutes or so what changes it has brought into the kind of academic function that you do in ITSGhaziabad. Now, I see 3 vectors of professional change: the accelerated importance and use of information technology, unconventional ways of working, including freelancing and working from home, and increased inter-organizational and intersectoral collaborations and networks. My second argument, I argue that these changes will demand personal transformations from each of us, of which three are cardinal: embracing uncertainty and change, becoming a continuous learner, and practicing personal and collective social responsibility. My third and final argument is that capacity building is the single enabler and tool available to all of us to navigate the changes that we will confront in the professional and the personal world. To leverage capacity building, we need to harness youth who are outside the formal higher education institutional network, focus on the frontline and backroom workers who are vital to decision making and implementation, and design training programs and educational inputs so as to train teams, not just individuals. These, in essence, are my three arguments. Now, let us look at the context. Why has COVID-19 thrust this kind of imperative upon us? Does a crisis by itself ensure reform? And a historical understanding is necessary here. Every great crisis to mankind has seen a period of confusion, and we have been seeing that in the past few months, followed quickly by rapid counter responses. In challenging times, we question accepted realities, devise quick solutions, often outside the usual compass, some of which may become effective enough to become normal quotidian practice. This was demonstrated in the world wars as well as in pandemics such as the Spanish flu. History also suggests that the global economy is remodeled in significant ways after a major crisis like COVID-19, spurring the adoption of new technological strategies and business models. The SARS outbreak in 2003 is seen as the causal factor for the adoption of online shopping by China, which resulted in Alibaba's rise. The balance of payments crisis in India in 1991 led to the paradigm shift of liberalization, globalization, and privatization. The economic and the humanitarian crisis unleashed by COVID-19 is thus an opportunity to reform sectors such as skilling, healthcare, the unorganized sector, and education, which are the underpinnings of our economy. Now, let us move to what changes will we see in the COVID-19 professional world, the professional changes. We are live witness to several shifts that are taking place in the world of work. The multi-sectoral acceleration of information technology, the advent of freelancing and work from home modes, and the needs for lateral, cross-sectoral, and inter-organizational and intra-organizational collaboration are three such seminal changes, and let us look at each of them in a little detail. First, the advent of technology. Now, the CEO of IBM, speaking in an online forum, and I quote him, he said, "History would look back on this as the moment when the digital transformation of business and society suddenly accelerated. COVID-19 has increased digitalization in all spheres of our professional world, whether it is education, healthcare, governance, or entertainment. As schools closed in many parts of the world, e-learning and e-delivery of education saw a smart breakthrough. You yourself are examples of that. states like Karnataka, my own state where I work, launched the Makkala Vani, the children's voice, for disseminating educative and entertaining content to children. Now, will the change roll back once we are over the pandemic? Even while keeping teachers integral to the education process, there will be a new flexibility and agility with curated content through platforms like Coursera or edX, and entirely new learning experiences through artificial intelligence, virtual intelligence, and mixed experience tools. These are the changes which I foresee in the world of education. Now, healthcare is seeing similar changes. Digital efforts in Wuhan to contain the crisis via smartphone trackers demonstrated a powerful new public health tool. The Kerala police launched Project Eagle Eye to use drones for surveillance during lockdown, using technology as a tool to complement manual surveillance in topographies which are inaccessible, such as pocket roads and open fields where jeeps could not traverse. In the entertainment industry, Netflix and Amazon Prime are seeing a big boost. Netflix viewer numbers have swelled as lockdowns across countries kept people at home. Even the requirements of daily activities need digital navigation. As people have been forced physically apart, they turn to video calls on WhatsApp. All these demonstrate the growing acceptance of technology to help us feel connected. As people become more comfortable with technology and service providers upgrade their infrastructures, creating a better pipeline and more streamlined and user-friendly interfaces, technology becomes easier to live with day to day. The second change, the growth of freelancing and work from home modes. COVID-19 has propelled us to experiment with work from home on an unprecedented scale. As the CEO of Wipro put it, this will define a new normal for a lot of industries and will create new opportunities for us to do more work globally. Now, WFH has gone beyond our routine processes and scaled new innovative heights. Now, my daughter is a lawyer. She works in Mumbai, and she could not come home when her office closed for COVID-19 lockdown because she was working on the Jio Facebook deal. Now, Facebook purchased a 10% stake in Jio, and it is a US $6 billion investment by Facebook into Reliance Industries, Reliance Jio. But this is unique because it set a new standard in remote negotiation. The extensive merger and acquisitions dialogue was happening online, even including due diligence and agreement negotiations. This is one of the biggest deals that has taken place when there is a nationwide lockdown in both India and the US. The two countries in which the two parties to this transaction are based are India and US. And both countries were under lockdown, but the negotiation went on online. Transactions of this magnitude, especially transnational ones, usually involve considerable travel, international travel, and face-to-face meetings and facilities by the higher management and their financial and legal advisors. This time, all this happened remotely online. The second shift that we see in the professional world is the emergence of the gig economy. Each of us will have to get used to becoming a freelancer. Remote hiring of technical talent will become the norm. Even before COVID-19, we were seeing for permanent employers like universities, governments, they were cutting down on hiring and increasingly outsourcing even their core functions. Now, some of us may feel insecure. Oh God, the day of the permanent job is gone. What do we do now? But this is not necessarily a bad thing or even a new one. Now take a surgeon. A surgeon is attached to one hospital. Even today, in the non-COVID world or pre-COVID world, a surgeon is attached to one hospital, but she consults in many hospitals. Some surgeons even consult online. and they earn remuneration from multiple organizations. Similarly, a talented and skilled individual, whether it is a teacher or a technical person, an engineer, they can peddle their expertise across organizations and be paid from all of them. Remote hiring of talent will become the norm. We are seeing increasingly on LinkedIn that so many people are saying, today I joined my job online, I was interviewed online. Corporate positions will open up to skilled candidates everywhere, prioritizing skills over pedigree and geography, all of which is good news for both the economy and the talent pool. It makes talent pools more diverse and businesses and the economy stronger. The third change in the professional world is the growth of or necessity of cooperation and collaboration. Now, when you have gig economy and pervasive freelancing, this will bring in cooperation and coordination across sectoral silos. As freelancing becomes prevalent, teams will be self-created rather than being curated by leaders. Think of bands coming together, musicians coming together as a band. This is self-created, like the Beatles. I still belong to the Beatle age. The Beatles, for instance, and so many others. They are all self-created. Nobody has come on top and said, I form a team. And they will become more interdependent, more collaborative, more agile, and more flexible. Now, let us see an example now. GlaxoSmithKline and Sanofi are rivals in the pharmaceutical industry. Traditionally, they have been rivals. But today, impelled by COVID-19, they have forgotten their commercial rivalry and they have joined hands to build a vaccine. Now, the GlaxoSmithKline has adjuvant technology. Adjuvant technology enhances the impact of any antibiotic or medicine given to you. Therefore, it makes a small dose more effective. Sanofi is working on an antigen for COVID. They have pooled their relative strengths to bring one vaccine, to build a vaccine so that they can fight COVID-19. Google and Apple, again traditional rivals, they have teamed up to evolve standards for contact tracing. Now, from my own example, I head the Department of Youth Empowerment and Sports, and I head NSS, National Social Service Scheme. Many of you would have been part of it in your youth, or even your college must be part of it. I head NSS Karnataka. Now, we have a large reach. NSS has, a nationwide reach. In my state, I have a statewide reach even to the remotest areas. But we did not have medical knowledge. So what we did was that we teamed up with the Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, which is the medical college university in Karnataka, the National Health Mission, and NIMANS, National Institute of Mental Health and Sciences, all of them located in Bangalore. And we provided curated training on COVID-19 response to NSS volunteers, officers, and they in turn went into the community to disseminate this knowledge. So this kind of, different silos, breaking up, people coming together for a coordinated response is going to become more common. All this demands that we build up networks and skills. We Indians are not very good at that. We are very good at working alone. We are a little hesitant to work in teams. So we need now to come out of that comfort zone of alone working, lone working, and build each other up professionally. And there is no room for that traditional Indian backbiting or jealousy. In Kannada, we call it hotte kichu, jealousy. I don't know what you call it in Hindi. I'm sure we must have a word. Envy. There's no room for that in the professional world. No backbiting, no backroom gossip hereafter. Now, let me come to this second aspect. If these are the changes that we are going to see in the professional world, what kind of personal transformations are required so that we meet those challenges? The first is embracing change and uncertainty. Heraclitus said that the only thing which is constant is change. Pragmatism demands that we as a group, as a nation, we survive the present moment while building ourselves to thrive in a very different future. In a topsy-turvy world, how does one stay sane and calm? Questions are everywhere. What does the future hold? How will life change? What will the new normal be? Uncertainty is uncomfortable. Yet, change is inevitable, and COVID 19 has only accelerated the pace of change and made it very palpable. It's not so gradual anymore. In such a dynamic and unpredictable situation, those who accept uncertainty and are willing to take swift, decisive, and risky action will hold the advantage. Now, lockdown was announced and non-essential businesses were instructed to close. We all saw that. And business owners were suddenly faced with the tough choice of either stopping operations completely or finding new ways to provide service. Now, many restaurants, and you must have seen that in Ghaziabad, I definitely saw it in Bangalore, restaurants closed their operations. They closed their doors, but they kept their kitchens open. And they tied up with anew with delivery services like Swiggy and Zomato, and they began to deliver from their kitchens. Now, barbers, salons were closed. Barbers began to offer home haircut services. That was new. This has not been done before. And they just migrated quickly into this new mode of service delivery. So the first personal transformation that the post-COVID challenge demands from us is the realization that change is the only constant, that things may alter any moment, and it calls upon us to embrace uncertainty, develop equanimity, mental balance, emotional intelligence, and agility of thought and action. The second change or the second personal transformation that we have to undergo is to get into the continuous learning mode. Each of us has to become a continuous learner. So continuous learning opens our minds and changes our attitudes. Knowledge is now available at our fingertips. And to function effectively in this rapidly changing world of technology, we need to learn new things to remain valuable. Dr. Yachna was mentioning in our preliminary chat that we have had to learn new things now. We have learned so many new things now. So that will become necessary for each of us. And those who are not making use of this opportunity will stagnate. Do not be left behind. Ensure you remain up to date, keep up with trends in society and industry, and adapt your skill sets. The resources for continuous learning are many. Read magazines and online articles. Connect with global networks using Skype, social media, or email. Subscribe to publications relevant to your work interests. Analyze and critique case studies. Attend training courses and seminars. There are dime a dozen. Webinars are dime a dozen now. Try MOOCs such as Coursera and edX because this will give you very curated and professional content. Listen to podcasts and watch documentaries. The days when one went through a neat progression. Now this was my world. I joined in the IAS when I was in my early 20s, and I'm close to completing 33 years in the next couple of months. And I've been in one service throughout. But that mode, that you study in the first 20 years of your life, and then you work for the next 40 or 50, 30 years, and then you move into retirement, that is going to go. This will be replaced by a career of constant personal reinvention and learning with doing. So the second transformation required from all of us is continuous learning. It is vital to prepare yourself well for the coming future. The third personal transformation, and I am very particular because I think this is the most important thing which we all need to exercise and practice, is collective social responsibility. Our third and most important self-transformation. Now, you were talking about, the way in which you have served the society and the administration of Ghaziabad, the people of Ghaziabad, by offering your own resources. And one thing particularly caught my eye, maybe because I am a foodie myself, that Ruh Afza. thought that was a wonderful and thoughtful gesture, that in that climate, at that time when the migrants are walking the roads, what better? It gives energy, it cools down your system, and it does something, makes you healthier and more immune. I thought that's a wonderful food distribution, yes. But Ruh Afza, I think that's your, the special thought that went into it. Kudos to ITS Ghaziabad. Now, we are all very familiar with CSR, corporate social responsibility. But today, corporate social responsibility is not enough, because this is still someone else's job. You can just dump it over, that company has to do this firm has to do it. No longer. It is up to each of us to exercise and adopt personal social responsibility. We have a duty to each other. Now, personal social responsibility is still easy. Now, in the non-COVID world, for example, if you teach a child or you help a destitute person who is in need, you are exercising personal social responsibility. But what COVID-19 has brought home to us is a larger collective social responsibility. The health of our communities depends on our individual actions. It calls upon our collective social responsibility that emphasizes our responsibility to the community as a whole. Now, there are many ways in which the pandemic has expanded the opportunities for exercising collective social responsibility. We have suddenly become sharply aware of a joined-up world. It is paradoxical because COVID-19 emphasizes physical distancing, but it also reminds us how interconnected our world really is. The virus spread from a market in Wuhan, China. Many of us had not heard of Wuhan before that. And it spread to almost every corner of the globe within just 3 months. Such a public health crisis is a demonstration of how closely connected we are to the rest of the world. What happens overseas or in a neighboring state can directly and immediately impact lives in our country, our state, and our home. As we collectively navigate the COVID-19 public health crisis, and I don't like to call it a crisis or a war or a battle or anything, I feel it's a collective experience. All of us are experiencing this together, and it gives us many ways in which we can practice collective social responsibility. Now, it is the general consensus of public health experts that the only way to counter the spread of COVID-19 is for each of us to follow the discipline and protocols. Wash our hands, keep our distance, stay at home in lockdowns. The health of our family, community, and economy depends on us setting aside personal wants and needs for the good of the whole community. Even while complying with the lockdown, while it may feel that we are sheltering within our homes to benefit or keep ourselves safe, paradoxically, we are doing it for the common good. Social distancing causes a disconnection that can be disorienting. While we need to maintain physical distance to stop the spread of COVID-19, we need social connection more than ever. Therefore, COVID-19 is an opportunity to practice collective social responsibility, helping us overcome our prejudices, reinforce our ethics and values, extend our reach, find ways to reach out and involve, and develop curiosity and compassion. Now I come to my third and final argument. There are changes required in the professional world, changes required in the personal world, and what is the tool that helps us? Capacity building is the tool that we should leverage and use. COVID-19 has thrown up challenges and changes in our professional world, primarily the importance of technology, growth of freelancing and work from home, and the increase of lateral and cross-sectoral collaboration. This in turn calls for personal transformations from each of us by embracing uncertainty and change, becoming continuous learners, and practicing collective social responsibility. Capacity building is the tool that enables this personal transformation. As we emerge out of the pandemic, it is to be expected that governments, corporates, and institutions like yours invest in better cities, health, education, technology, and most of all, capacity building. Now, when we look at capacity building, what aspects of it should we focus upon? First, leadership. Every big test is a test of leadership. But COVID-19 is not the usual political influence or corporate power.
I will request the participants to please mute their mic. I'll request all of you to keep your mic muted. Ashish sir, you're requested to put everybody
Yes.
on mute except
I have removed the
Kalpana.
concerned person, ma'am.
Sure.
So,
Thank you, sir.
every big crisis is a test of leadership. But COVID-19 is not about political influence or corporate power. It is about the everyday leadership that we as individuals and as citizens demonstrate in our daily lives. Therefore, our capacity building should focus as much on qualities and character traits as on specializations or technical skills. Traits such as calmness and equanimity, skills such as communication and problem solving, attributes such as a strong work ethic and a compassionate worldview. And of course, the leadership that is able to lead with persuasion and influence, not with diktat, encourages participation, not hierarchy, and it is purpose-led and not power-driven. These should form part of skill development as much as technical skills. Second, who should we focus our capacity building efforts upon? The front line and the back room become important. In an increasingly digitized world, with social media creating a virtual reality, presence and authenticity become even more important. Decision making in the pandemic, for instance, who takes the decisions? It is taken by the higher levels of the medical fraternity, ICMR, the health departments, and the higher bureaucracy. But these decisions are crucially dependent on the kind of inputs and information which flows from the bottom, from the lab technician or the ASHA worker who is on the field. Similarly, the decisions are taken at the apex level, but they have to be properly disseminated and understood by each person down the line. Without this, implementation suffers. Now, COVID-19 is not just a health crisis. In a country like India, vast as it is, diverse as it is a logistical marathon. Vast quantities of data, medical and non-medical, are being collated, entered, sorted, cleaned, and readied for decision makers by tribes of data entry operators and analysts. Now, as the pandemic progresses, you must have seen this in the news, we hear of swabs being not properly labeled, which become useless then in determining treatment or containment. It is not the number of beds or ventilators that really determine the outcomes. You can always purchase a bed, you can purchase a ventilator, but the quality of medical personnel and their assistance becomes important. A qualified nurse who understands infection control, or a pulmonologist, or a technician who handles the samples. We cannot procure this in a month. This requires long time investment, and it highlights the importance of frontline and backroom workers and teaches us to respect dignity of labor. Third, the focus should be on training teams and not individuals. More and more, we are going to work like teams. And I saw some of you smiling when I mentioned the Beatles. So we are all going to be like Beatles, and we should not break up, at least until the task is done. Now, we saw that the pandemic makes freelancing acceptable. It calls for greater collaboration across teams and organizations. Now, it is likely that future teams will comprise some permanent staff, some temporary staff, some freelance employees, and this diversity will call for greater need to build cohesion within the members. But our educational system, particularly our higher educational system, does not prepare us for cross-sectoral coordination of equals. Engineers train with engineers, doctors with doctors, bureaucrats with bureaucrats. But within each fraternity, hierarchy, seniority becomes the fallback option whenever there is a difference of opinion. But think of a situation. COVID-19 brings that situation. A policeman has to implement a medical decision made by a doctor, based on data analytics, produced by a computer scientist, collected by an ASHA worker. What happens? We get lost in translation. They struggle with different vocabularies and different work processes. So to avoid this and to face future crises better, we need to train teams, not just individuals. Our pedagogy, and this is very important for higher education institutions, it should mandatorily include case studies, self-reliance and decision-making situations, problem-solving, immersion experiences, and the like. Finally, in conclusion, let me say that the choices that we make today, not the crises, determine our opportunities. COVID-19 has changed the world as never before. The global lockdown that we see happening with COVID-19 is unprecedented and perhaps even incomprehensible to human minds. Still, amidst all this confusion and uncertainty, opportunities hide. It is time for governments, institutions, and individuals to prepare themselves for the worst, but also prepare themselves to recognize and utilize these opportunities and keep the faith that we will transform into a newer, stronger, and reinvented India. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was truly enlightening. And please allow me in accepting this that so far we had so many webinars till date, and I have heard to many people while moderating the sessions. But let me tell you that at one point of time, I was feeling I am speaking to a civil servant. At one point of time, I was feeling that I'm speaking to an academician. So actually, that itself raises me the first question of today, that how do you keep this right blend and right mix of professional and academics in your career? Because I could see a complete, while I was going through your profile, I also find out that such a marvelous blend of both the academia and professionalism. So how did you maintain that, ma'am?
I'd like to say that I have the head of a bureaucrat, the heart of an academic, and the hands of a volunteer. So it just happened. The continuous learning which I am speaking of now, that has been part of me, from the beginning, that I never really stopped learning. And it was my good fortune that midway into my career in the IAS, I joined the IAS in 1987. And in 2002, the government started, the government of India, Department of Personnel, they started a public policy program, a master's program in IIM Bangalore. It was a government-sponsored program, and I was selected to participate in the program. We were about 30 in that batch, and the program still continues, though now it's open to others also, not just public servants. So, so I did my master's in public policy from IIM Bangalore. I was already a master's in English. That was as part of my normal education, but I migrated into a different field, public policy, because that was more in keeping with my professional experience. When IIM Bangalore decided to launch a doctoral program in public policy. That was in the year 2007. They wrote to me asking me to apply, if I would like to apply to that program. And so I did, and I became part of the first batch of public policy doctorates to pass out or graduate from IIM Bangalore. And since then, I have been keeping this balance or blend, as you call it, that, one thing enriches another. My academics enriches my professional work, and my professional work enriches gives me the experience to deal with academics better. Somewhere along the line, organizations like Akshay Patra and GRAM, the grassroots. I forgot the full this thing. It's part of. It's a voluntary organization, long-standing Swami Vivekananda Youth Movement in Mysore. So I had been having association with such organizations for quite a while in my bureaucratic role. So then we decided to, kind of make it informally formal. So I became advisor to some organizations like Akshay Patra and GRAM. So that's how it happened. It happened more serendipity than strategy. So
no, ma'am. Very well accepted and very truly reflected in your personality. The head of a bureaucrat, heart of a teacher, and hands of a volunteer. That is very much reflected in your personality. Ma'am, I also read that you are a 1987 batch pass out, and you scored 20th position in that. So, what was the time? What was the moment in your life when you actually decided to take up civil services? And because I could see some very young participants also here in our session, so I want to make them understand that because I at times feel that today's youth is they have more options, but those options are very confused. So a vision is very much required for these youth to take their decisions in life.
Okay, see, things were different in my time. So I'll tell you briefly about what happened with me. But the kind of strategy or worldview of the youth today should and is and should be different. Now, with me, I completed my master's, and then, in fact, for a year, I joined IIT Madras as a research scholar. So IIMB was not my first doctoral attempt. As soon as I finished my MA, in those days, all the IITs together, they used to have what is called the Common Examination for Research Admission, CIRA. It was for research what IIT JEE is for the BTechs. Okay, it was a similar exam. And I wrote the exam. I was the topper in that entrance exam. And I joined IIT Madras. But at that time, IIT Madras did not have anyone who could guide me in my particular area of interest, research interest. Because after all, it was a technical institution. But I was more interested in social sciences. They did have a humanities and social sciences wing, but no one who could particularly guide me there. So meanwhile, people around me I was a very good student. I was a nerd before the word nerd was invented. So they encouraged me to write the IAS, and I wrote the IAS, and I got through in my first attempt. I was 19th in the All India merit list. And since then, I never lost touch with academics. So I just have continued this, and I told you how I joined IIM Bangalore. So that is how it happened with me. So I cannot say that, I was highly strategic. Today, you are right that there are more choices, and therefore becomes far more important to be able to sift and know really what you want from life. And I make it a point to emphasize that it is no longer the case that you have to enter government to be in public service. You can be a public servant in your chosen calling. And this is what I always tell the youth, my own NSS boys and girls, when they ask me, that choose one area of your interest. It could be the area where you specialize. It could be engineering or medicine or whatever, or something which you are simply interested in. It could be music. You may be, working towards getting a degree, let us say in economics, doing an MA economics or a PhD in economics, but you may be interested in music. So choose that and use that to reach people. Use that to serve. Now, I have a school classmate in my school who goes and sings in hospitals, in ICU wards. Now, there are many, many ways in which we can serve. Do what is immediately available to you and nearest to you. It is not always necessary that you should enter a career in public service. A career in public service is not for everybody, because it is, for the simple reason, it's not as well paid as, a corporate job can be. So I don't want that, you should become a sannyasi, give up all material comfort and go and serve. It's not for everyone. So it is, choose, do your job and choose an area where you can reach out to people, and you should have a dual or parallel career to throughout. There should be a career which gives you bread and butter, puts food on your table, takes care of your family, but there should also be a career which feeds your soul, which fulfills your own destiny and your own responsibility to society. So I'm very particular that personal social responsibility is important for everybody. So a dual career is what start now, and it's very easy. I told you I juggle 3 careers and not so hard at all. So you can just do it.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Very true. One has to strongly understand what is close to his heart. And definitely, this lockdown period has given many of us an opportunity to self explore and understand that where our passion lies. Maybe as a teacher, your passion is still music, or maybe dance. And definitely, we could see social media being bombarded with such videos wherein people have got the time and opportunity to pursue their passion during this lockdown. Now, coming back to the hot topic of discussion, that is COVID-19 these days, there is a question from Dr. Nitin Saxena, and he wants to understand that as you're based in Bangalore, and he
Yeah.
find out that there are very less cases in Bangalore. So, is there any particular or different strategy which is being adopted, and is because the number of cases as compared to Delhi and Maharashtra are on a very lesser side. So, he wants to understand what is
Yeah.
the strategy.
Yeah. Okay. See, one thing is that I would not claim that we have got the formula right, because it could very well be that it can peak at some later time. It could simply be that the peak is delayed. But given that, I think the primary credit goes in Bangalore to the people of Bangalore. I have seen that the lockdown was meticulously followed. People simply did not crowd the streets. You didn't have those instances when somebody had to be lathi charged or thrown into a jeep. All those things happened very minimally or not happened at all. The people complied with the lockdown regulations very quietly. So this was done. I was witness to this even in my own home, because I am on a fairly busy connecting road, but the traffic stopped. Very few people came out. When they came out only to purchase their daily requirements. So that primary credit goes to that. Then we also got the containment zones right. That in the initial time that we were able to contain to certain, we came up with that idea, no, that we seal off a zone, that one particular zone. So the whole city is not affected, but some zones are kept contained. In apartments, people came forward to help each other. Even now, in an apartment building where my part of my family stays, 2 people have come down from Kerala and they are on self quarantine within the home, and the rest of the building, they are helping them to get their groceries. Because it's just a couple, semi-elderly, middle-aged couple. They are staying within their home, and others are pitching in to provide their groceries. So these are some things that you did. See, the thing is, it's not what you do. It's a very, very simple solution.
Indrani, sir, if you can
Mandals.
yeah.
So these are not very great or very high, very sophisticated strategies. It's only, and that's what COVID-19 has shown us. You do simple things. You hand wash regularly. It's a very simple thing, but you do it with ordinary solutions, but extraordinary discipline. So that is important, that you do that, keep to that, don't break. Even when the liquor shops were opened, we had these long queues everywhere, but you had in Bangalore, you had very orderly queues. People stood at quite a distance from each other. There were very long queues everywhere, all across, but they were all very orderly queues. People in Bangalore, in the best of times, they queue. That's something which you don't see it even in other parts of South India. So I think the credit primarily I would give to the people of Bangalore.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. And very rightly said, ordinary things, but with extraordinary discipline. I hope that's the key we all need to learn now. in order to protect ourselves from this pandemic. Ma'am, as you talked about the collective social responsibility as well. So here is a question from Dr. Bajpai, and
Yeah.
he wants to understand that it is a time to replace corporate social responsibility with collective social accountability. So what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, I would agree. How will this happen? This will happen only, it puts a tremendous burden on each of us, or tremendous responsibility again to each of us, that if society is vigilant, then the accountability is more. Because nobody wants blame. And if there is scrutiny and honest scrutiny, not pointing fingers for the sake of it or not blaming people for the sake of it, if there is that kind of scrutiny or constant vigilance on the part of society, then not just the bureaucracy, but even the powers that be in the corporate or the social world, they will be more accountable. What do we see in COVID-19? Sometimes it seems to me that institutions have not risen up to the occasion, but individuals have risen up again to the occasion. Communities have risen up to the occasion. So that was something that we need to practice. It throws greater. It means harder work on our part. We can't just leave everything to the chief minister or the prime minister and sit back and relax. All of us have to participate. That I think India particularly needs. And we should, the blame culture should go, but the collective responsibility should increase. Then each of us, I in government, I'll be more careful if I know that others are watching me, because I don't want to look bad in front of my peers, in front of society. So I completely agree, and I feel that this is institutions which we have the C and AG, we have various audits and accounts, but they should be supplemented or buttressed by society itself. Social audit is the best kind of audit.
Yes, ma'am. Social audit is definitely the best kind of audit, and the leaders also becomes like that somebody is actually keeping an eye on them.
Yeah.
So very true, ma'am. Ma'am, when you were discussing about capacity building, you talked about leadership, right? So one question that comes to my mind is that any key focus areas that you could suggest for public-private partnership, which will drive women's leadership and at the same time make business a sense.
I can't see the question. Whose question is that?
Ma'am, this is not from the chat box. This is my own question. You were talking about leadership, and I still find out women not playing that major chunk of the leadership positions. The numbers, yes, definitely we have, but numbers is not equally good as we have the male people at the leadership position. So any public-private partnerships or any strategy that we need to bring out more women at the leadership positions?
Okay. Now, I won't say that women are not there in leadership. I beg to disagree with you. They are there. They are not that visible.
Yes.
We are not very good at putting ourselves forward as a gender. Let's accept that. But that said, everybody has their role to play. Somebody is the hand, somebody else is the backbone. Can the hands work without the backbone? The spine is as important. So we have this, there is that human need. I also have that for recognition, for visibility, that society should see what I do. Somebody should appreciate what I do. But it may not always be possible. The best workers in COVID-19 are, do you know any ASHA worker by name? You may know the ICMR director, perhaps, his name or her name, but you do not know the ASHA worker. But they are the real backbone. They are pushing this effort. So I first of all work for our own satisfaction. And how does a mother function? Each of us have that instinct in us. And I'm not saying this just for women. I'm saying it for everybody. That rather than wait for recognition or visibility, which may never come, do your job and find that satisfaction, and there will be a thank you in the eyes of the person you help, which is the best gift of all. So I think that's what I would say. I mean, you can do quotas, you can do all those things. I am all for more women in leadership positions. We don't have many women IAS officers. We may be about 20% or 22%, I think now. Well, in so many fields you don't have, but it also needs a push from within. And the push should be to push your own work ethic, your own hard work, your own capacity to manage situations, not the push to get recognition from someone else. Why if I need that validation? I don't want that validation. Whether I am man or woman, my validation should come from myself and the people immediately next to me, not from the wider world.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you for making me believe that, because being a strong believer of karma myself, I always feel that we should do our karma and leave the rest on God. And definitely the appreciation come on its own. And as you rightly mentioned, that we should work at for our own satisfaction and not for recognition. Uh, for me, that's the star point of the discussion that I could take it as a learning takeaway. Though I could see participants are still URAP, but yes, looking at the watch, it's already 12, ma'am, and time tells me to summarize the session. But before I formally conclude the session, I would like to invite our Director Management, ma'am, Dr. Vidya Sekhri. Ma'am, can you hear me?
Just to
Yeah,
look
yeah.
up Yatna, there are some questions in the chat box. Shall I address them separately and send you an email?
1 second, ma'am. Ma'am, yes, I can see we can take up one question if you allow me, and then definitely I will send the questions to you.
No, if we are out of time, I don't want anyone's question unanswered. So I'll just note down the questions and I will send you a reply separately. Their names are there. You can just pass it on to them.
Okay, just
You
one
can
minute,
take
ma'am.
few questions, Yashna.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you
You
so
can take
much,
one or
ma'am.
two questions. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Kalpana, ma'am, with your kind permission, can I take up one or two more questions if you allow?
Absolutely. Yeah, I am available. Please.
Okay, right. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, there is one question from Professor Durba, and she wants to understand that Bangalore being synonymous with Indian Silicon Valley, what extra effort government is taking to provide support to the tech and non-tech businesses?
Okay. Uh, One is, see, there are different aspects to this. In Bangalore, it's a kind of happy accident that we became Silicon Valley. The You see the fruit now, or you see the full-grown tree, but the seeds for this were laid far back in the 1980s, when I think Infosys and Wipro started sometime in the early 1980s. Wipro first, and then Wipro started, and other businesses migrated into IT, and the Infosys also came up. So different things. One is that the government itself has pushed uh, use of IT tools, both within government and outside, by creating infrastructure. The electronic city, for example, several phases of electronic city now exist, and by various other reforms, by keeping it tax free, giving other subsidies. So this was one, that government efforts towards creating a IT friendly culture. The second aspect is within industry, that there was that ecosystem which came mainly by private efforts. So you have not just government efforts, but you in growth of e-governance, for example, but you also have private individuals and who have not confined themselves just to overseas. You have people who come up with applications, for example, in agriculture. I don't immediately recall the name, but I can pass it on to you, that you have small enterprises, startups, which are working in rural areas, bringing technology for socio-economic transformation. So there are these both aspects to that, that both within the government and by government push, and the private sector, not just confining itself to technical issues, but also to societal issues. We have helped to create a ecosystem where IT can grow. This is this is a very I'm a little dissatisfied because there's a lot to speak. It'll take a session actually to tell you, and I've spoken of this before. So sometime we can meet and see about how we can develop IT and what Bangalore has done in that process.
All right, ma'am. Ma'am, there is another interesting question from Dr. Tiwari, and he wants to understand that when a crisis strikes, our entire focus is instinctively drawn to the immediacy of its impact. How do you reduce sharp narrowing of focus, which distorts the perspective?
Yeah, but it is natural, isn't it, Dr. Sitamari? It is natural because we are human after all. That's what makes us that when there is a crisis, but we also see the quickness of the response. See, sometimes COVID-19 makes us feel very helpless. Oh God, this may affect anybody. We can't see it. No, it's something which we can't see, touch, feel, but it is challenging all of us. But look at what we are also fighting the good fight, isn't it? It's not that everybody is in terror and confined. Every crisis brings forth a counter response, and that you had started seeing almost within days into the crisis. And it starts off, and people find different ways not just to cope, but also to survive. This and again we have to develop those qualities of equanimity. Dr. Yachna was, asking about how women do, and it came to my mind at that time that my children are both in Maharashtra, right? My son is a neurosurgery resident in Pune, and my daughter is a lawyer in Mumbai, and both of them could not come home. My son because he's working in the hospitals, and my daughter because she was involved in that Geo Facebook transaction. She was working on it. Now, if I become anxious, then I cannot make them work. And even then, there was that weakness of a mother. I asked my son that, why don't you come home? And he said, did you bring me up to be a shirker? And, he just went ahead and he's just doing his job. So we have that counter response. Everybody is not afraid. Everybody is not paralyzed. Each of us are doing something, and that is what will help us. Please understand, this is not the first crisis which we are facing. This is the first crisis which people of our generation are facing at the prime of our life. But we have had World War I, World War II, we have had the Spanish flu, we have had the 2008 subprime crisis, which your director was mentioning. We have overcome all these crises, we will overcome this also. I believe that.
Right, true, ma'am. Life will continue and the world will go the better way, and we have to come out of it.
We should not be careless, but we should not be paralyzed either.
Right, ma'am. Ma'am, as in India, the number of cases are also progressing very fast, and that's what the question of Dr. Tandon is, that we have turned fourth in the spread of coronavirus. So, in your opinion, what went wrong, and how can we prevent our check from the ranking going from fourth to first now?
I won't be quick to jump into conclusions whether things went wrong or went right, because you see that in different geographies there is peak at different time. Okay, USA, China had its peak, Italy had its peak. So we may be, coming towards our peak or already reached it now. Now, what do? We again do what we know works, which means that we are careful as individuals, and that is key. That each of us, we hand wash, we sanitize, we maintain distancing. We are not careless. We keep our vigil until this thing is over and gone. We cannot become complacent. Medically, we need to ramp up our testing even more. We have ramped it up, but we need to ramp it up even more. Better contact tracing, use of more technology. And we need to see, we are very good in working in mission mode. Very quickly we'll do something, finish the job. But this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. And we need to keep our efforts sustainable over the longer term. And what else? There are only those simple solutions available to us, and that is what we need to follow. And I can't say this strategy is good or that strategy is good. Sweden went into the open strategy, no lockdown strategy. Today they are, rolling back and saying maybe we were wrong. Maybe they were wrong, but maybe they were not wrong. Who knows? Only a little bit of passage of time will tell. But whatever we do, we need to maintain those basic things, and each of us as individuals have a part to play in that.
Right. So we need to be more vigilant, understand, and we need to be precaution is better than, right?
We need to maintain the safety protocols. It's not for somebody else. It's not for the doctor. It's for us also.
Very true. Very true. Ma'am, I'll only take up the last question with your permission, because I hope this question is asked by a student, Soumya Tiwari, and she wants to understand that, ma'am, do you really think this pandemic has affected the students' life negatively? And if yes, then what are the suggestive ways to make it positive? I hope probably because they are sitting back home, though they are attending online classes, but yes, somewhere they are missing that social connect. and that's what some kind of negativity arises in them. So I
Yeah.
hope that's what her question is, that how can they stay positive in such negative times.
Yeah. How do you stay positive? First of all, don't think of it as a negative time. It's a collective social experience. Different generations have gone through different experiences. You and I are going through it now. A school or an educational institution is not just a place of learning, it is also a place of social connection. And I'm pretty sure you are missing that, not the lectures. So you are missing being out with your friends. Think of it as a short term thing. You know? Yeah, it is. Is it a good thing or a bad thing for a student? It's a good thing because it has forced you to go into the online repository of wealth of knowledge besides online. So it has taught you to go beyond your teachers to explore what is available on the internet. And that is actually, there's no disrespect to teachers, but a teacher today is a guide. A teacher today is a curator who can tell you where the knowledge is available and where correct knowledge is available, because so much is available. So, there was this thing that a teacher used to be the sage on a stage, that you like a rishi, you stand on a stage and you tell that this is this and this is that. But today you're a guide on the side. You stand on the side and direct the student towards where knowledge is available, where it is right. So if that way it is good. It has opened you into exploring avenues of knowledge which otherwise you would not have done. It is also a disadvantage for people who may not have the facilities which probably you have. You are able to sit in your home, access the internet, talk to me miles away from you in Bangalore. Everybody does not, and your eyes and your mind should be open to that disadvantage. And now we have to work to see that everybody has that advantage, because you are not going to progress unless the society progresses with you. So there are good and bad things about everything. I mean, every single protocol or methodology you use will have its consequences. Some will be positive, some will be negative. Let us make the best use of positive and make that positive available to as many people as possible within our reach. Now, let us say you know somebody, your classmate who does not have internet, invite her to your home. Let her also listen to the lecture along with you. I don't know, some of you belong to my generation. You remember when first TV came into India, we had the whole stream. We had the first television set, which was in itself a second-hand television set, which my aunt in London had sent it over to us. So we had that old television set, and the entire street used to be in our house, when Pakiza, for example, was telecast. So you used to have that kind of life. Today we all think, my bedroom and nobody else should enter it. But, open your heart and your door so someone else also can benefit. It's a small thing which you can do for society to progress together.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. It's a great message for the students and also for us as teachers, that not to be a sage at the stage, but to be the guide at the side. So I hope it's a wonderful message for us as faculty members also. So with these beautiful words, ma'am, I hope we are able to answer most of the questions that I could see in my chat box. I'm sorry, but I initially didn't have many questions in the chat box at my end. So with this, I put it over to Director ma'am, so that we could then formally close it. Director ma'am, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I'm there.
All right. If I could request you to say.
First of all, let me thank you, Kalpana ji, for a wonderful session.
Thank you so much.
Initially, I talked about our social responsibility, because you rightly mentioned that collaborative responsibility, that is the social responsibility, is the key. And apart from responsibility, it is an accountability, which is very important. So behind all this social responsibility, we as an institution have completed 25 years. And this celebration of Silver Jubilee is only the brainchild of our chairman, Dr. R.P. Chadha ji. He's a great visionary and philanthropic person. And today our vice chairman, R.P. Chadha ji, who is normally, always try to be present in all these sessions, due to his preoccupation, he couldn't be. But he is always, the guiding force for all these webinars, and he always wish that we must give the opportunity to the faculty members and the students. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been possible. You sitting in Bangalore, we are in Ghaziabad. it wouldn't have been possible in a normal times. So no doubt, COVID has given us the opportunity to talk to each other, and it was wonderful listening to you. Few things what you said, we clearly agree. Like one, you said that compliance is very important. You said that why Karnataka is able to come over this pandemic fear, because people followed the directions, because authority passes the directions, and it is the compliance which matters a lot. So I think it is the people who bring the success to any kind of system. Secondly, what you said is decision. Okay, decision is right or wrong is always a situational decision. It is very difficult to say that this decision is right or that would have been a better decision. It becomes really very difficult. So decision is always based on situation, and whatever decision we take, according to the decision maker, is the right decision for that particular situation. So I think whatever you said, everybody enjoyed, and it was really a learning session. And once again, on behalf of the entire institute, the management, the faculty members, and the students, I thank you for sparing time and your valuable words, as an administrator, as an academician, because as I was hearing, you did your PhD from IIM Bangalore. And I think in your heart somewhere that academician is hidden. So thanks a lot for a wonderful session once again. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Director ma'am, for proposing the formal vote of thanks. And once again, our heartfelt gratitude and thanks to Dr. Kalpana ma'am for having such an insightful and enriching session. And just to conclude the 5 takeaways that we had, which ma'am actually took up in her session: the cardinal, the embarrassing, continual learning, practicing collective and individual social responsibility, last but not the least, capacity building in the form of leadership, in form of skills like communication and problem solving, and in form of attributes like compassionate and empathy. So with these such wonderful takeaways for us to practice and learn and imbibe in our life, so that we could feel positive and we could grow and stay happy in these times. So with these words, ma'am, once again, thank you so much for your precious time and your valuable thoughts on this topic.
And thank you to the internet. Without any glitches, we were able to go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much, ma'am. And I personally enjoyed speaking to you. So thanks a lot for your valuable time.
Thank you so much. I also enjoyed the interaction and the questions. So let's hope we meet together in better times.
Sure, ma'am. In better times, we definitely look forward to meet you physically and personally in our campus. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you also.
And my heartfelt thanks to all the participants who were very patiently listening and also participating with some exciting questions. I'm sure you all have enjoyed the today's session, and we had some great learnings from today's talk. And we're thoroughly going to practice the learnings that we had today. And do remember that the challenging times do not define us. They just define us for the better times to come. So with these words, please, we will be meeting you soon with some more enriching and knowledge sharing webinar series. We'll keep you posted for the same. Till then, take care, happy learning, stay safe and stay connected. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Manoj sir, please prepare a report for this, and submit it. Photographs, Lokesh ji, have you taken some photographs?
यस सर लिए जी सर
Right.
मैं मेल कर दूंगा आपको सारी जिप फोल्डर बना के
हाँ ठीक है
ओके जिप फोल्डर बना के सब मेल कर दूंगा सर आपको
ओके स्क्रीनशॉट से लिए ना मतलब वैसे
हाँ वैसे ही लिए सर वैसे ही वही ठीक आता है
ओके हाँ मोबाइल से कम सही आता है ठीक है ग्रेट राइट मनोज सर रिपोर्ट आज ही दे दीजिएगा है ना सो दैट वी कैन सेंड इट फॉर फेसबुक एंड अदर प्लेसेस ओके
Students, please leave the meeting.
Lokesh sir, ma'am has asked me for some photographs in grid, right? So I will be sending it to you. Please zip it in the same folder, right?
ओके सर.
All right.
Do I need to send the same folder to you as well, sir? आपको भी भेजना है?
No. I'll be sending you the photograph. Make a zip folder of that again. Right?
Okay.
The students are requested that the session is over, so you may leave the session now.
So do one thing, sir. Okay, sir.
जी sir.
You can send this folder directly to शिल्पी मैडम and वंदना जी, right? CC में मुझे भी कर दीजिएगा, मैडम को भी कर दीजिएगा.
हाँ सर, ठीक है.
उसमें just you can mention the title, right?
Yeah sir, sure sir, definitely.
Okay.
स्क्रीनशॉट सही रहता है सर लेना, जो स्क्रीन पे दिख रहा है वही आ रहा है.
नहीं, मैंने भी कर रखा है. पीपीटी एक बना रखी है, उस पे पेस्ट करता जाता हूँ.
वो ठीक रहता है सर, बेस्ट है वो.
एक पीपीटी में प्लेस करते जाते हो ना, हर पेज में एक, है ना?
नहीं, मैंने तो सर वो स्निपिंग टूल से किया है, सारी जेपीजी है, पीपीटी पे नहीं कर रहा. इंडिविजुअल फोटो है, प्रॉपर फोटो मिलेगी.
सर क्लोज कर दें अब.
बिल्कुल क्लोज कर दीजिए सर, हमको बात ना करने दीजिए, आप लोग सब बंद कर दीजिए सर, इतना दिन बाद.
मैं तो कॉलेज में बैठा हूँ सर.
अरे सर ठीक है सर, स्टे सेफ सर.
Thank you, sir.
थैंक यू.
ओके सर. रिकॉर्डिंग बंद कीजिए प्लीज, रिकॉर्डिंग स्विच.
ओहो.